let's hope I can read these books in 2022. This year, I really want to make an effort to get through a lot of my physical TBR that is, you know, behind me on my shelves. I feel like because I have been listening to a lot of audiobooks in the past couple of months, I have started to realize that I'm not picking up audiobooks of the books that I actually own in real life. Like, I'll just go onto Hoopla and like look through their entire catalog and pick out books that I don't own but I really want to read. But this year I want to focus so much more on the books that I own in real life rather than books that I just want to read. As you can tell, I've collected so many books over the years, and there's just so many that I need to get to and that I want to get to, and these are definitely the top 10 that I want to talk about today. But if we're being honest, I want to get to any of the books that I own. It really doesn't matter. These are just the top 10 that I'm super excited about. Also, last year I did a kind of similar video, but it was actually just all adult fantasy. I ended up not really getting to any of these books except for the Poppy War. I've actually started the Poppy War. I haven't finished it yet, but I'm getting close, so hopefully sometime in the next couple of months I will finish that book. There are a lot of books that I still want to read, just haven't gotten to yet. Recently I've been in more of like a romance mood, so I don't know when I'm gonna get to a lot of those fantasy books, but hopefully soon. Alright, because this intro has been so long already, I want to just get right on into this list, and the first book that I want to talk about is The Killing Moon by N.K. Jemisin. This is another book that I actually had on the previous list, and I definitely want to prioritize it this year. The reason I was so drawn to this book in the first place is not only because it's N.K. Jemisin, and I feel like if you're a fantasy fan, you kind of have to read her books. They just seem like the pinnacle of adult fantasy to me, but also I was really intrigued by the way that the magic system centers mostly around dreams, and I thought that was super interesting and very unique. And it seems like there is this entity, this monster, that is attacking and killing people within their dreams. And I love the last sentence of the synopsis. It says, Eharu must now protect the woman he was sent to kill, or watch the city be devoured by war and forbidden magic. Like, that sounds so exciting to me. I haven't heard very many things about this book in particular, at least in comparison to a lot of the other N.K. Jemisin books that are out there, but I think that that is what intrigues me the most about this book, is that it's not as hyped as, you know, say the Inheritance trilogy. So, I mean, I also have that one as well, and I could totally read that too, but I'm really excited about this book. The next book is by one of my favorite authors, and that is Vespertine by Margaret Rogerson, and I have so far loved every book that she has put out. I think my favorite might be Sorcery of Thorns, but I also really enjoyed An Enchantment of Ravens. So, you know, it just keeps getting better and better for me. So I'm really excited about Vespertine, and this actually isn't the special edition. This is just my normal, regular copy of Vespertine. I should show you guys my special edition. Okay, just look at this. Oh my goodness, I just poked myself in the eye, but holy moly, this book is gorgeous. I actually did a TikTok kind of giving a little bit of like a tour of this book. This is the Fairy Loot edition. I ordered it, I think I want to say back in August maybe is when I ordered it, so it was a while ago, but I did get it pretty recently. And look at this artwork that is in here. It is absolutely gorgeous. I hope that it's focusing on the actual artwork. Holy moly. And then open it up back here. Also absolutely gorgeous. And the sprayed edges. This book is just absolutely beautifully made. It has a little ribbon bookmark, and the quote on the back says, "For a strange moment I felt as though I were watching myself from afar. A lone cloaked figure cleaving through an ocean of the dead. The chant of Vespertine shook the ground like a drumbeat. I could feel it in my bones." I'm really excited about this book. Aren't they gorgeous? Aren't they beautiful? I love them so much. So I'm super excited to get to Vespertine. I've heard some really great things about it. I know that there isn't a huge romance in it. There might actually not even be a romance in this book, so it'll be a little bit different from her other ones, but I'm still super excited because I love Margaret Rogerson's writing so much. This next book is another one that I had on my previous year's list, and that is Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. So this is one I definitely need to prioritize the most because it'll be the easiest one for me to read since I also have the audiobook. So I'll be able to listen to the audiobook and read along with this copy, and that is typically how I enjoy to read my books that I own physically when I also have an audiobook. It kind of reminds me of when you were a little kid in elementary school and they would like have you open up to the story and then they'd play the book on tape and the narrator would read the book to you while your teacher did like work in the corner. That was always my favorite time of day, like in elementary school. I loved books on tape. I loved getting just to sit there and like listen to somebody read to you while you're also following along. Literally the best thing in the world. Also, this book has some really beautiful illustrations. Here is the gorgeous map. Oh my goodness, absolutely beautiful. I think it's the same on this side. I can't remember. Oh no, it's different. So here is another map on this side. Isn't that gorgeous? Isn't that just the most beautiful thing you've ever seen? This is such a nice copy of this book. And I got it right when it came out. I just haven't been able to get to it. I don't know why. I just get really nervous every time I think about reading it. I think it's just really not overhyped, but just highly regarded in my mind that I'm like, I'm really intimidated. What if I don't like it? I just need to get over it and read the book. The next book is one that I kind of wish I had read last year, and that is The White Album by Joan Didion, and I wanted to read this last year. I even had it on my TBR for one of my previous videos, and then I just didn't get to it. Last month in December, unfortunately, Joan Didion passed away, and I kind of regret not having read any of her books before her passing. So I definitely want to prioritize especially The White Album this year. This is a nonfiction book, and it's a collection of essays that she wrote, I think during the 70s or the 60s, somewhere around that era. Yeah, this was published first in 1979. The White Album records indelibly the upheavals and aftermath of the 1960s. And I think that this specifically focuses around California, which is really exciting because born and raised in California, I'm really excited to read this. I know it's gonna have a lot of like interesting things to say about the era of the 60s and 70s, and I'm so excited to read it. I've heard so many good things about Joan Didion's writing. I just really regret not having read it last year. This next book is one that I have been recommended countless times. I've even gotten like just on random TikToks that I've made, just like read this book. And this is Iron Widow by Ziran J. Zhao, and I am so excited to read this book. It is science fiction, which I always get a little bit nervous when I am about to read science fiction because it's not one of my favorite genres. It's kind of on the lower tier of genres for me, but when a book is this popular, I feel like I need to at least give it a chance, right? And it just sounds so good. Everybody has made it seem like such a fun and interesting book. So, and also the cover, I'm just in love with the cover. Look at how beautiful that is. Look at her on the cover looking like a badass. Some people don't like illustrated covers or people on covers, and I am completely against that. I love illustrated covers. I love people on covers. I don't know why. I love it when it's done like this. I don't love it when it's done like 2009, 2010, that kind of YA cover. Absolutely not. This is where it's at. On the back there is a quote from Julie C. Dow, and she says, "Like its ferocious heroine, Iron Widow is brutal, bloodthirsty, and full of rage. Zetian's fight to shatter patriarchal definitions of power makes for a truly thrilling read. So that is super exciting. Very high praise from Julie C. Dow. And it looks like the main character is 18, which is something that I have noticed a lot recently. I've been reading so many more YA books where the main character is 18. I just read Dark of the West, and the main characters in that book were also 18, so it was published a few years ago though, so I'm not going to say it's like a trend or anything, but I've just been noticing that I personally have been gravitating more towards those kind of books. So yeah, very excited about this one. I've heard great things. People have been recommending it to me, and I think I'm really going to enjoy it despite it being sci-fi. I always say that as long as the sci-fi leans more Star Wars than like actual science, I am usually pretty okay. The next book is the only classic book on this list, but I do have quite a few other classics that I want to get to. This is just my biggest priority, and that is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I am really excited to read this book, mainly because I read Within These Wicked Walls last year in December. I was about to say recently, and I'm like, well, I guess it was a month ago. But ever since I read that book, I have been really excited about reading Jane Eyre. I actually just picked up this book. My mom bought it for me for Christmas, and I'm very excited to read it. It's absolutely gorgeous. I don't know about y'all, but I like this cover. I think it's actually really pretty. At first I was like, I don't know about this, but this cover has definitely grown on me. If you want to know, this is the Signature Classics collection. I think this might just be like a Barnes & Noble thing. I'm not sure. It was only $9. So yeah, it might just be a Barnes & Noble thing. I feel like it's a travesty that I've never read it before. So yeah, I'm very excited to get into Jane Eyre, and hopefully I will absolutely love it. The next book is on this list mainly because I have been in such a big adult romance mood, and that is Well Met by Jen DeLuca. And I know I have so many friends who love this book, so I'm kind of behind. I got this from Book of the Month back in... Actually, did I get it in 2019? I might have gotten it in 2019. I don't remember if I got it as a Book of the Month or as an add-on. I can't remember. But this one is an adult romance, and it is set during this like Renaissance fair, which I've never seen this setting before. I think it's really interesting. I know there's another Renaissance fair book that I want to read, but I'm pretty sure that one is YA. So I've been in more of like an adult romance mood, so I'm really excited to read this one, and I've had it for literally so long. And I also know it's kind of like a enemies to lovers, rivals to lovers sort of deal, so that also makes me really excited to read it. And with Book of the Month, they have like almost never steered me wrong. I think there's only been like one time that I didn't really like the Book of the Month that I chose. So I have high hopes for this book. This next book is definitely Carly Thorne's influence, and that is Memorial by Brian Washington. I am really excited to read this book. I literally got it because she recommends it like all the time. So I knew I had to get this book. It sounds really interesting. Basically, it's about these two guys, and they have been living together, and then one of the guys finds out that his estranged father is dying in Osaka, and he decides to go visit while his mother comes and crashes with them, I guess. I don't really know. It's kind of like a difficult thing to explain, but it sounds really interesting. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and it'll explore a lot of really interesting themes and topics. So I'm very excited about this book. I have a lot of high expectations, but I'm sure that they'll be met. Like, just flipping through it, it looks like a book that I'll really like. The next book is such like an overall favorite that I feel so compelled to read it, and that is Circe by Madeline Miller. I have never read a Madeline Miller book. I feel like the book police are going to take me away for that one, but I just haven't felt compelled to read any of her books until recently. Which is so weird because I love Greek mythology. I'm so into it. I just tend not to be super interested in Greek mythology books for some reason. It's just, I don't know. I think it might just be something that's just like too close so it just feels weird to read about it. I feel like I have a lot of interests that are like that, where I just love them too much or it just feels too close that reading a book about it feels so weird. But I am really, really excited to get to Circe. I think that this one might be the one that I like more compared to the Song of Achilles. But I mean, if I read this book and I enjoy it, then I'll definitely get to the Song of Achilles. I just want to read this one first. All I know about this book is that it centers around Circe and how her story is influenced by so many other myths surrounding her. So I'm really excited to read this book. I've heard so many good things about Madeline Miller, and I'm so excited because I feel like all of Madeline Miller's books get so tied to Taylor Swift for some reason, and so I'm really excited to see why people think that Madeline Miller's books relate so well to Taylor Swift music. And the very last book on this list is the biggest book on the list, and I just recently bought it, so I'm a little nervous about it. I'm still trying to get over the fact of how big it is, and that is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I know, I am so late to the game on this book. I mean, I distinctly remember when this book was coming out, and at BookCon, like, they had stacks and stacks of arcs of these books, and it was like everybody wanted an arc of The Priory of the Orange Tree. It was huge. I didn't go to BookCon that year. I've never been to BookCon, but I remember watching all the vlogs, and like, this was a very highly coveted arc. So ever since then, I have been really excited and nervous and intimidated to read this book, mostly because of the size. I mean, it's huge. It's so big. It's literally massive. A massive, massive book. I am very nervous to read this, but I've heard so many good things about it, and so many people have recommended it to me and been like, you need to read this. If you're looking for queer fantasy, this is perfect. So I picked it up at Barnes & Noble recently, and we're going to read it, and I'm very nervous. This is one that I definitely want to prioritize this year. I want to read it. I want to make an entire reading vlog about it, about my experience. And I also just recently saw somebody say that this book reminds them of State of Grace by Taylor Swift, and I was like, you just gave me so many expectations for this book, because State of Grace is one of my favorite Taylor Swift songs. So I'm a little bit nervous. But like, every excerpt from this book that I've ever read is just like gorgeous and beautiful. And then like, I've seen so many illustrations of like fan art from this book, and I'm just like, wow, this looks amazing. I need this. So I'm really, really excited to get into this. I hope I love it. I hope that I'm not like too intimidated that I never pick it up, because like, it's a big book. She's big. I think it's over 800 pages. Yeah, it's like just a little over 800 pages. I haven't read a book this big in a long time, so I'm a little nervous. Alright, so those are all of the 10 books that I want to get to in 2022. These are like my highest priority of books, but they're also going to definitely be the ones that I'm like the most intimidated to pick up. I have a lot of high expectations for these books, so we're gonna see at the end of the year if I actually get to any of them, because last year my list did not really get to be read. That was like the most awkward sentence in the history of sentences. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and if you did, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Also, go ahead and follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Goodreads, Storygraph, TikTok. All of the links to my social medias are going to be down below, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye! Ooh, I thought it'd be me and you. Oh.